Hey guys, happy Monday to you. It's Monday the 17th, or a week and a day away from Christmas, so hopefully you guys are wrapping things up. Didn't leave a video yesterday. I wanted to touch base about that though, if I could, um, and then share some observations from some things I saw or read today or yesterday that really had me a little bit riled up with just, I don't understand people. But as far as I go, yesterday was a really neat day for me. It was a Sunday. I had to work in the morning. Um, Saturday I got a migraine Saturday, one of my migraines, and my medication just kind of drops me for into, I call it my coma pill. So Sunday was, I was groggy most of the day, but able to hang out with the kids and Jamie and have some fun. And last night was before I got back from my journey. I was surprised with tickets to my guy Phil Vassar, and he was playing with Lone Star. Um, and they have a Christmas concert that they put on, some Christmas songs from their own songs, and it was really neat. Small venue, great time, so got to really enjoy that, and that was awesome. A good sidebar to that, a really neat story, is that a Journey friend from even before the Journey, a friend of mine, Lisa, who's been nothing but supportive and believes in me and the message wholeheartedly. Um, she had heard me talk about Phil Vassar, wanted to see him for a while. When I got the tickets, when Jamie bought them for me, wasn't sure if Grace was with her mom that weekend or her dad, and it turned out Grace wanted to go. Well, Lisa treated Grace and Heather for Christmas to tickets as well, so they got to enjoy the show as well. We didn't sit together, but we were all at the same show, so that's really sweet of her to do, and again shows how people through the Point of Thumb message sometimes get together and share some good times. We have one engagement on the way as a result, and we have things like that. So shout out to Lisa for doing that and taking Grace and Heather, and I hope everybody had a great time. I know I did. Um, that leads to today, where I've been off most of the day. Not most of it, I've been off and catching up on overdue things, and that's great. But there was something that riled me last night. I've been having a little bit of a tough day here myself. Sometimes the point in the thumb's a hard thing to do, and again, during this journey, I've talked about um, people that suffer, whether it's mental illness, but they just suffer from emotional state. And it's a tough thing to beat. And it kind of raised its head again last night, this morning, in my house. But it's worked itself out. But raised itself because we're talking a little bit about a story I read last night, and it just drives me out of my mind. Maybe this is one of the reasons why I hate politics so much, but it drives me out of my mind when people feel the need to feed their own agenda. Um, it happens a lot in politics with pointing the finger and, say I didn't vote that way and she did and he did that and she didn't do that, or I did that and he did that, and it drives me crazy. But it really drives me out of my mind when, not in the glamour, in just the everyday life, when people don't recognize the situation and instead feed their own agenda. So the story I'm referring to, I think, occurred in Ohio, and as I understand it, a young man had committed suicide. This goes back to the mental health that we talk about. I've talked to folks on the journey that have dealt with it and experienced it. It's a terrible thing, but I don't know all the details, but apparently this young man had gone to college but had played football in high school, and I'm not here to argue anybody's merits or demerits, but the family felt that the high school football coach was somebody that was instrumental in beating this young man's emotional state down, and they personally requested him not to attend the funeral. So, being requested not to attend the funeral might be enough for most people to say, you know what, I have to respect the family. As much as I think I should be there, I have to respect the family and not go. This gentleman didn't feel that way. He took it upon himself to say, well, then again, I'm not saying he said this. The best thing I can give him would be to think, well, I owe this young man my respect. So even though his family's hurting right now, they're probably just saying it out of pain and anger. and I'm going to show up briefly to pay my respect. So when the gentleman, the coach, shows up to pay his respects, one of the brothers, I believe, approaches him and asks him to leave. So he did what he had to do. He made an appearance to show his respect. It wasn't received well. Just go home. Just go home to your family and your friends, and you did what you could do, whether you believe you're the cause or not the cause, whether you are being scapegoated or not. The family feels a certain way about you. It's their moment, not yours. It's their moment. You know, turn around and go home. Well, this coach apparently decides to take to social media and essentially says, I'm being blamed for this kid's death, but maybe they should turn around and look in the mirror, and maybe he should look, why are you holding me accountable for his actions? I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just saying, what good does that do? Do you have to fight that strongly? Do you really need to go on social media to tear down a young man that's not even alive anymore, that's taken his own life, to feed your own agenda? They went proactively to you and said, please don't come. And you went. And then when they came, they approached you and said, please leave. And that wasn't enough. That this guy had to take to social media. And I believe he's lost his job because the school district, when they caught word of this, caught word of his social media postings, fired him. And a lot of times, sometimes I'll be more liberal and want to fight for these folks or whatever, to say you're getting fired unjustly sometimes. But I don't know if I feel that way in this case at all. I mean, clearly this guy had an agenda. I don't know the history of supposedly 3 other kids in the school or in his family played for this guy and also the same thing. But again, what do you gain by not respecting the family's wishes? Not once, but twice, and then to have to go on social media and tear down this young man and his family. It just is bizarre to me. Then the story takes on a further bizarre twist. The family had requested the priest who was doing the service to not discuss how the young man died, but to talk about his life and celebrate his life. Well, this priest, I believe he was Catholic, and I believe that suicide is considered a sin in the Catholic religion. This priest took it upon himself to espouse on his pulpit about maybe this kid didn't repent enough and how he's a sinner, and essentially tore this young man down to feed his own agenda of saying how suicide is a negative and a sin. Again, it bewilders me. If anybody, again, should lose a position, I think it would be this guy, because he's looked upon. They went to him. The story gets worse than that even. But the family looks to him to pay tribute to their son. In essence, as far as I know, that family is making donations to that church, and they're I don't know what they pay, if they pay or just donate for the service. Another one of my things about religion, all the donations. We'll give you a service, but you got to donate X amount of dollars. Well, it's really not a donation then, but that's another story entirely. Back to this young man. The family looks to this priest to carry a message they want to pay tribute to their son and recognize their son in the way they want to. Then on top of it, the family had prepared statements, at least some of them, in which they wanted to eulogize their brother and their son. And one of the brothers went up to the priest in the middle of the service and said, basically asking the priest stop talking about the suicide and trashing the kid. And they were prepared to give their own eulogies for their family member. And the priest apparently consciously made a decision to not allow that. He spoke and spoke and spoke so long that he cued the organist to play the organ to the music where they depart the church with the casket. And the people got their cue and they got up and they started to take the casket out of the church. So now this family has to deal with the jackass football coach that has to impose his agenda on them. Then they have to deal with a jackass priest who decides he's going to impose his agenda on them. And when it's all said and done, they don't even get a chance to have their eulogies. It's really, really just an almost an obscene thing to me. But where this goes full circle is again asking ourselves to point the thumb. This is on a fairly large scale to me, but there are so many times on smaller scales in everyday life I see it, where people want to do something, say something to feed their agenda. They're not really interested in. I see it at my job all the time when somebody, in my particular profession, it's about character and there are people that want to do the right thing and will do everything they can to get it done right, and then there are people that almost spend more effort in trying to find a reason not to do something, not to get something done, than it is to do it. And but yet they'll never come out and say that. Of course, it's always under the guise of I want to do everything I can. I want to do everything I can, and that's where I'm questioning all of us right now in our everyday lives. If you know somebody, if you know yourself, if you have the ability to see yourself and point your finger, at yourself, your thumb at yourself, it's how many times do we ask a question, say a phrase, wanting to hear something, hoping to hear something, to feed our own agendas. It's a crazy thing that happens more frequently than I think we even acknowledge. It just happens to be this case in Ohio with this young man was at a very high level and brought it to extreme. So anyway, great seeing Phil Vassar last night. Hope you guys get ready for a great Christmas. Hang tight, and thanks for following still. And I love you, and happy Monday, guys. Take care.